Green Noise is back.
We're shooting here, man.
A lot of the biggest shoots that I've done have been on CapeNature property.
Any names you can give us in terms of actors you've worked with?
The biggest one for us was probably Jay-Z.
I think some people would have heard of them.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Green Noise podcast. My name is Dan Corder. I'm your host. We have a very special episode for you here today. It's our vibrant film scene, particularly service industry scene, that often brings some of the most famous and wonderful and iconic actors and producers and directors, many of them American and difficult to work with, to the Cape to shoot movies and shoot series. And a crucial part of the reason why they come here, aside from the price and the affordability of working with locals in a foreign currency, is our extraordinary locations, our incredible natural scenery, and our iconic skylines and horizons. And so I'm thrilled to welcome Andre van Wyk from Steel Productions and KT5, who is did we agree, iconic location manager, to talk about what goes into shooting movies and series, short and long form, limited and many seasons, and also TVCs, which is TV commercials, and the way to get the most out of our incredible natural sets that we have all around here while looking after those sets and preserving them. Thank you to both of you for being here. And for those listening, just to give you a mental image, I did say in a completely complimentary way to them that they look like they work in the film industry. Thank you so much for being here. Andre, let's start with you. Tell me about Steel Productions.
Thanks, yeah. Thanks for having us. Steel Productions, we're in our, 25th year of running, I guess, at the moment. Family-run company, myself and my sister, big sister, little brother. That have been running it for about 25 years now. We started off on the stills side of the things, and then over the last 15 years have morphed into carrying or covering pretty much everything. So on a service base, so TV commercials, short film, and big large-scale stills productions.
Amazing. So you're a full wrap production company, start to finish.
Pretty much, yeah.
From chairs in vans all the way to camera rigs.
Pretty much, yeah. If you need it, we do it.
That's amazing. Can you tell me some of, maybe just a few of the memorable, or at least for you, most exciting and special projects that you've worked on as a company?
I mean, after 25 years, they do sort of feel like they're all morphing into one, I think. But there's been a lot of really exciting ones, very challenging ones. I think sometimes the exciting ones are the challenging ones. Working in extreme environments or difficult to get to environments, or with pretty challenging briefs and things like that.
Challenging star actors from overseas?
Yeah, big name artists. We've done campaigns for big like music artists and things like that who have clothing lines, and taking them into game reserves in the middle of nowhere has always been a bit of a challenge, especially when you can't get them, like I mentioned to Katie earlier, a South Slope Siberian yak milk latte at 4 in the afternoon when they really want it.
So you're telling me you work with people from San Francisco?
But by and large, I mean, I think there is a little bit of a sort of mis-idea about famous people or people in the industry that a lot of them are all very difficult to work with. I think for us, the people who are difficult to work with, who are very good at what they do, and who are very challenging to work with, they give us challenges to try and achieve. And I think it's when there's people who really know what they want and why they want it, that's a nice challenge. For us, from a production standpoint, you always want to be doing something different and finding a challenge.
Any names you can give us in terms of actors you've worked with who people listening, watching would know, or productions that you've worked on that people will recognize?
I guess the biggest one for us was probably Jay-Z and Beyonce when he still owned Rockaware.
That's not bad, hey? That's like...
Let's start at the top.
I think some people would have heard of them.
Yeah, he's that tall guy.
Aren't they married
to a musician as well? Yeah.
Yeah, what does she do?
We took him to a couple of game reserves, got surrounded by elephants in the middle of the night, got stuck there for a little bit, which was pretty entertaining.
Wild. How many NDAs did you have to sign before that trip?
A fair few. So, but it was a good time, very challenging. I think I slept for about 4 hours in 7 days, but you come out the other side stronger. So,
amazing. And Katie, tell me about some of the location managerial work that you've been doing for apparently an iconically long time.
I started a long time ago, and the work has taken me into places that I would never have normally gone. You get to go off the beaten track, as we kind of did coming up here. these are the locations. I mean, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this is great.
Yeah, what could be shot here?
Yeah, what can we shot here? Can we land a helicopter here? How do we get here?
How do you get into location management and location scouting? I didn't see that on the course prospectus when I went to university.
No, it was. I got into it completely by accident. And my first job was actually with Patrick Swayze,
Nice.
which was really, really cool. And
I feel like a lot of people would work very hard to meet Patrick Swayze on purpose. You did it by accident.
Yeah, it was great. That was my first taste of location managing.
How did it happen?
I was a chaperone, which I wasn't really enjoying, and I begged the producer to please let me stay on the job, and he said, no, I won't let you stay on as a chaperone. You come and do locations. And I said, cool, let's go, not knowing what lay ahead.
How was the first person Patrick Swayze?
Don't know. I just set that benchmark really high.
Wow, that is extraordinary. So when you're just thrust into a new role, and I know that in the film industry, those kinds of things can happen where you're doing one thing and then someone says, oh, you can also probably do this, and you can also probably do this, and then suddenly you're skyrocketing. What was the first, I think maybe people struggle to imagine what goes into location management. What does it kind of involve?
So it involves on long form, which long form, just for people who don't know what long form is it's TV series and feature films.
Also known as not TikTok.
Not TikTok, correct. Not TikTok. You start off by getting a script. You have to break that script down to find locations that are suitable for the scripted locations, with several options on each location. You also need to bear things in mind like logistics. We come with an army of trucks and machines and all sorts. Sometimes we need to tie locations into each other. We need to match locations.
Time of year too, I imagine.
Time of year. I mean, we've done some great stuff in the Lemmitberg, which is one of the CapeNature reserves in Baines-Kloof. We built a cabin there and flew in snow machines and wind machines and turned it into a cabin on a mountain covered in snow in the middle of summer.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. We had to fly everything in because it was so remote. But that was definitely one of the, I'd say, the highlights of my career.
Feels like you were living in a Tom Cruise script. That's pretty
good. It was, let me just tell you, it was amazing.
That is wild. I should say for people who are not watching, but rather listening to the podcast, that we love to shoot on location for all of these CapeNature seasons. And for season 3, we are literally on top of a mountain right now in the Hottentots Highland Nature Reserve outside of Grabo, up Solari's Pass, just like 50 minutes to an hour, depending on how much you speed. Don't speed. Outside of Cape Town, and it's such a treat to be here. Wind is swirling around us. So when Katie was saying, I wonder if I could land a helicopter up here, that's exactly where she was talking about. So guys, it sounds like a painfully rhetorical, obvious answer question. Why do people want to come from around the world and the country to shoot here? But I think there's actually some interesting specifics about what makes this part of the world so good and useful and interesting and flexible and adept for so many different kinds of productions. What do you guys think the secret source of different flavored ingredients, Thousand Island or whatever it is, that gets people to come down here? Andre?
I think you touched on it. It's not just one thing; it's multiples of things. From the simplest one of our currency, the currency exchange for most of our clients for our work is coming out of Europe. So the UK, Europe, Scandinavia, and then the US as well. So their currency, obviously being much stronger than ours, works for them from the start. For most of Europe being on a similar time zone, which is very helpful for a lot of people. We're not dealing with jet lag or anything like that, which means folks, especially for a lot of short form, which is what we do more of, that you're trying to accomplish everything in a week or less, so folks can literally land, start working straight away without needing to have a day to recover if they were flying to Australia or New Zealand or something like that. Again, after that, then the caliber of crew that we have in South Africa, I think can't be spoken about enough in terms of just the South Africanness of our crew, the wish to just get stuck in and help, get stuck in, work hard, and do it with a smile on your face.
That is something about South Africans in all kinds of industries. I've heard about like hotel chains in Cyprus that only hire South Africans because they're like, that's the work ethic and the attitude we're looking for.
I think we like to prove ourselves to the rest of the
We
world.
do,
you're
right.
I don't know. So I think, and that it bodes well for us in the film and production industry. And I think then our locations, what we can offer here, the variety, I think, is second to none. And access, one of the great things about our job is that it takes us to places that a lot of folks just wouldn't even know existed, for one thing. And you're also most often seeing them at the best times of the day. We're always shooting sunrise and sunset, and 3 a.m. wake up call for a couple of weeks in a row is quite hectic, but it does mean you get to see sunrise in paradise most days of the week, which is amazing.
How often are you calling up some guy who has walked to a mountaintop which is inaccessible by car or bike, and only he has walked to, and says, if you fly there, you'll get a shot the likes of which even Tom Cruise has never seen?
I mean, it happens, but when the most important thing I think Katie touched on as well is that logistics is a huge part of it, So it's from a production side is managing clients' expectations of like, cool, we can show you something, and they go, oh, but I want to shoot here, and then you've got to look at the feasibility of getting there, the logistics of getting there, and then at the end of the day, the cost of getting there. Because creatives generally have no idea of cost. That's not their job. Their job is to think of beautiful things and create beautiful things. Our job is to manage that, to try and execute.
I am a creative.
Yeah.
You may notice I haven't asked you a single question about financing.
No, because I would talk to your producer about it, not you.
What's funny is my producers are my brother and my sister. And HR is our dad, which is incredibly useful for a family as large and stubborn as ours. Katie, tell me a little bit more about what Andre was saying about the variety of different kinds of nature. Obviously, CapeNature oversees such a diverse, worldwide, iconically rich biome. But also, this looks completely different than the Klein Karoo, where Africa Burn happens. Africa Burn looks completely different than Lungabon Lagoon around, the incredible west coast up there looks completely different than, like, even just 7 different spots in the Cederberg are almost unrecognizable down to the plant life and the sandiness of the soil. It must be such rich pickings.
It is, and that's, I think, the nice thing for us. We have what we call a zone, which is a travel zone, which generally production likes to stay within that zone. And we find that you don't need to travel very far to get completely different looks. We shot last season also up the west coast, which we cheated for a desert, which worked really, really well. And it's literally half an hour drive from Cape Town, and you're in a completely different environment. Whereas you can go to, into the mountains, you get some pine forests in there, and there's just a lot of diversity, which is great because you can also cheat stuff for a lot of different places, which we do quite a lot of.
For sure.
Yeah.
You guys have both talked about this, but what is one, like for each of you, the most memorably wild location that you've ended up on where you went, I didn't know this existed, also this is sick?
Sure.
You guys spoiled for choice?
Yeah.
We're all into it. It's because a lot of those memories would be attached to a specific production or what we were able to achieve in that space, and like where it really surprises a client, or you get a really challenging brief, or somebody who's like, I don't think we could do this here, and you're able to actually show it.
Give me an example of that that you're allowed to speak about.
Well, I think, and continuing on what Katie was saying about the variety and the ability to cheat, and by saying cheat as being like, we can make the one of the huge strengths of the greater Cape Town area in particular is the ability to make it look like anywhere else, and to the point of sometimes you need something that's very generic. It can't be identifiable as Europe or New York because that's going to a global market, and they don't have the funds or whatever it is to shoot specifically for each of their markets. And then on the flip side, you might have a brand, telecoms for one, which is often shot here, where they're needing to shoot for 7 or 8 different territories around the world. We have both the casting, so the variety in cast that we can pick, but we also have the locations that can match to that. So take Buffelsdal, for example, which is one of the locations that we use through CapeNature. we've shot it as the Scottish Highlands. I mean, if you look with this incredible cloud that we have rolling in here, that's the Scottish Highlands, but it also looks a hell of a lot like Norway. So we were shooting an electric car ad.
It's Skarsgård or Gibson about to walk over the hill.
Exactly. So, we were doing an electric, that was the release of a new electric sort of muscle car, so to speak. And one of the big EV electric vehicle markets is Scandinavia and Norway. And we were struggling for something because, I don't know Norway all that well, apart from the fishing there. So it was, showed them a few bits and pieces, and they were like, but that actually looks perfectly like Norway. And the clients loved it, and it worked incredibly well. So we're able to find places that look very similar to, and down to very specific, parts of wherever we need to be, which is great.
And I just wanted to add on to that as well. We're also very fortunate to have a highly skilled crew in construction and greens departments where they can come in and they can turn something, like they could probably come in here and turn it into a jungle, so that we work with also, besides having the locations and all of that, having the crew that we do have in South Africa help bringing the dreams to life.
For sure. What's a greens department?
They do all the plants.
Oh.
Yeah.
I should have known that.
And it's a huge, it's an
art form, I imagine.
It is an art form, and it's a huge part of a lot of shoots. I mean, something as simple as needing lavender, right, for example, which we have plenty of in the Cape, but it might be a specific kind of lavender for a scent product or something that they're using, and to being able to bring that in and dress it in correctly.
And that actually links to what I wanted to ask you both about next, because something that many, many great directors of many, many different kinds of moving picture stories have talked about, and stills, have spoken about the ability to shoot and dress and use a backdrop as a storyteller or as a character in and of itself. What goes into trying to turn a landscape into something iconic enough that you go, okay, well, if I ever think of that ad or that story, as important as the script or the characters is, I remember that scene. I remember that scenery. Do you know what I mean, Katie?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking back to. I can't talk about it too much because
I love these interviews. I love these. It's my
I have to
favorite
be very
kind of
careful
interviews.
now.
Why didn't we get her a voice modulator on a mic? Then she could tell us all kinds of things.
Hello, is there anybody there from Netflix? No, we used one of the CapeNature locations for a series that I'm working on for season 2, and it was just a piece of old farmland, and we turned it into this amazing town. And now when I drive past it, we've taken the set away, but my memory is still so attached there to what we built, the toils we went through to get that set up in the middle of the rainy season, in mud that became like chocolate mousse. There was just so much of it.
Terrific.
But at the end, we had this incredible set built in this exquisite landscape that just, it adds so much production value. It was super cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And how do you process the stress of trying to control the uncontrollables? So in my radio career and TV career, man, I love being inside a studio. It's the same every day. The worst that can happen is when the aircon is a bit different or the light bulb goes out. But when you guys submit yourselves to this, for example, it's tough. You got to have plans D to F, right?
Well, we're both only 22.
I know. I could have said that.
It's actually my birthday today.
Oh, it's your 22nd birthday today. That's amazing. I'm actually 32 next month. I just moisturize a lot. That's funny. So tell me, particularly Katie, what goes into selecting the perfect location for a brief? You mentioned earlier that you wanted to you would generally give many options to a director, but I imagine, considering the fact that directors are coming from other parts of not just the world but South Africa, many times they wouldn't have been to those locations before. They're entrusting you with the place in which they will shoot, hopefully their masterpiece, if not something that'll make a lot of money and have many people see it. What is the process of trying to understand what they're really looking for beyond what they're saying, sensing out what kind of spot they really like, and then developing, I guess, the trust with them?
Yeah.
for that whole situation to happen?
So it's a kind of a 3-phase procedure, if you will. I work very closely with directors and production designers. So the production designer is responsible for the overall look of the show. So sometimes I would start with the designer. And I find I spend a lot of time with these people trying to, to hear what their vision is, and then trying to put myself in their shoes and get them as close as possible to what they want.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what happens when someone rocks up and says, "This isn't what you showed me. I don't like the smell"?
I say, here's a bowl of potpourri. No, fortunately, that hasn't happened too often. It does happen. Photographs don't always tell the story, and depending on what lens the scouts use, things sometimes look bigger than what they are. So you have those challenges. But like I say, fortunately, I haven't been in that situation too often.
And then this applies to Katie too, but particularly for Andre. With all of the different kinds of production that Steelwood Productions does, all the different parts of the process of creation, there must be so many protocols, so many processes, so much red tape, and sometimes even laws to respect. Is that something you can only really handle through experience? And I guess the more jobs you do, the more odd things are thrown your way, the more you know how to deal with odd things when they come your way.
Yeah, I think when you first start off, every production, it doesn't matter how well it's run or how much time you have to plan it, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be hurdles, and I think the longer you're in the game, the first time a problem gets thrown at you, it feels like a massive problem. And I think you learn, to cope with that problem. So the next time a similar one comes along, how you would have, gotten over that hurdle. I think, again, going back to the team that you work with and your crew, being able to depend on your crew, whether it's, just my internal company crew and all of the freelancers that we work with, and trickle down to location agents and people that we deal with, that trust process that you have with location managers, with location providers, agents, your crew, goes a really long way into lessening not lessening the problems, but it helps you
handle them
exactly a lot better every time. So you get less freaked out about them, and I think it does take, you mentioned earlier about getting into the film industry. I think there's a few avenues where some people kind of know that's what they want to do. That's what they study it and they go in from there. But so many people in this industry sort of fall into it by happenstance. A friend was, working as a runner or chaperone, needed a hand, and our greens department needed this or some, I've completely fell into it. I had no idea the film industry exists until my sister phoned me when I was, living in the Caribbean and said, "Come home, I need you to come work." So, I went from working 4 hours a day, 4 days a week in Paradise to, 20 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Your
here.
Sister,
you got to grow up at some point, right? So, but I think that's part of the fun, is that challenge. But the industry as a whole is well looked after by associations here, and I think while there is a lot of friendly competition between all of the companies, I think everybody understands that it's for the benefit of the entire industry to work together to overcome any red tape issues, whether they're to do with legislation and things like that. So
you have to build a scene, right?
Yeah.
So that everybody can flourish in the scene.
Absolutely.
There's no point fighting each other to the point that you rip down the industry.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that clients have be they short form clients, for like most of what we do with commercial clients and things like that, brands that are coming here to shoot, and whether they're shooting with you or they're shooting with somebody else, you want to make sure that they have a good time and that they have a successful production, because that means they're going to come back. And I've got a shot at winning them from my competitor if they're coming back. Whereas if they have they don't have a great experience here, they kind of write off South Africa or Cape Town for a little while.
I see.
So I think it's great that the feeling within the industry is everybody that works together really nicely.
Totally. And you've both mentioned that you've both done work that you've really enjoyed and been proud of with CapeNature on CapeNature locations and that. But Katie, tell me a little bit more about that, because what I've always been fascinated by with the film industry, particularly in Cape Town, is a broad recognition that a strong film industry benefits everybody. It creates so many jobs. It creates so much positive affirmation, so much attention, so much strengthening, for example, of the value or like strengthening of the understanding of the value of natural environs, because they're so good that they can end up being film sets for some of the biggest films in the world, right? So partnerships between CapeNature and others really important.
Absolutely. I mean, just when I was driving here, thinking about it, a lot of the biggest shoots that I've done have been on CapeNature property. The shoot that we did in the Lemeetberg Nature Reserve was absolutely ginormous. I mean, it was. We worked with Dion Rousseau, and I think we gave him grey hairs initially. I think he was just, completely overwhelmed. But we managed to get in there, and like we were talking about the challenges, we're like, the director flew in a plane and just pinpointed from the air where he wanted to be, and we had to then try and work out how to get
Land
there.
the plane, yeah.
Going along pipe tracks that are there for fire and stuff. So we ended up repairing the pipe track to get to our location. We had to build scaffolding stairs going down to the set so that we didn't damage the environment just with the sheer number of people. And although at times I feel a bit like, oh, this is a bit scary, I love it.
Yeah.
The more challenges, the happier I am.
I'm sorry to have to address the large orange on the horizon, but we are now facing a reality where our film industry could be quite seriously affected by the United States of America placing 100% tariffs on foreign produced films. Is that something that is already a pressure that is coming to bear on you guys here, or not yet?
The nervousness, general nervousness and attitude from a lot of people because of that, the trickle down from it, is affecting a lot of people, and looking at from the short form and advertising side, possibly less so. This season still stands to see how that will, but I think, Katie knows more about the long form side of things, which is, feature films and stuff like that, which would be more affected directly by the tariffs that are being instituted by the United States. So it's definitely going to have some form of kickback for.
It's quite an interesting thing though, because so fortunately we have many competitive advantages that you guys have both spoken about: the variety, the time zone, and the affordability. And I was also thinking, like, even with our 100% tariff, we're still rands, not dollars, right? It's probably not going to be wiping people out, but it could cause some serious industry stress.
Yeah, I think long form is feeling the pinch. There's several other factors contributing towards that. I think the tariff is one thing, and the rebate is another thing. That's because that's been taken away from long form productions. So that impacts directly on the really, really big shows coming here. Smaller shows are still coming in, but certainly the work is not what it used to be. But, that's the thing. Like you said earlier, we South Africans, we're resilient and
highly skilled.
We're trying to, we're constantly reinventing ourselves and trying to find ways to encourage people to come here through different avenues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from all you guys have told to me, there's every reason for optimism that we'll be just fine in the face of all of this, based on the variety, the skill sets, the number of industries that are involved in this, and the fact that we're clearly very good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the swings and roundabouts things. The seasons do tend to go busy, up and down sometimes. Certain things become more trendy at times. People go like, oh, we really want to shoot in this country. And a lot of, just from our personal experience, clients suddenly going, oh, we're going to wherever it is, South America, and they go for a season and we lose them for a season. And then, a year later, they're like, hey, it's like, yeah, it was nice. We had cool, but
Cape Town.
The fact that the crew, the locations, the weather, the cost, the time zone, it's virtually impossible to beat.
Yeah, full package. And because we have to, because I have not yet been replaced by AI, and so have not yet been silenced by AI. What is the already permeating effect of AI within your industry and the work that you both do in your industries? Starting with Andre.
It's been an interesting one to watch. Certainly from in the still side of things, and then also now moving on to moving image. And Katie and I were talking about this earlier. It's suddenly everywhere, and there is obviously a huge fear within the industry. Or seems to be a big fear within the industry of what will it take over, because what AI is able to achieve at the moment is quite staggering. Especially to, for lack of a better term, the layman, someone who's not necessarily in the business of creating images. So it's even, when you're in the game, you kind of have possibly a little bit more of an educated eye, and you can pick stuff up more quickly. But what we're finding at the moment is that brands and people are rejecting AI for a lot of things from a consumer's point of view when you're advertising a brand, in that they want a human connection. They want a real connection. Same like in terms of the cost that people use, for example, in selling a product, has gone away from this over the last 5 or 10 years, has gone away from the completely unachievable perfect guy, perfect girl, whatever it is, to a more realistic, something that I can relate to. And people are starting to see a bit of a kickback against everything being AI created. People want to know that I can be that person, I can identify with that. So the AI thing is still there, but it seems to be more for entertainment.
I hear you.
Like stupid silly things on TikTok or whatever it is to watch. But we're hoping that it keeps everything much more real. And I think people will hark back to that, but it's definitely something we're going to have to deal with.
Katie, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the writer strikes that took place and actor strikes that took place, one of their main concerns was being replaced by AI. So I think it's a very real kind of looming, I want to use the word threat, but yeah, it's definitely something I think is making people uncomfortable. I can't say where it's going to go. I mean, for now, I know it's being held at bay, but for how much longer, I can't say.
Super interesting, industry by industry, form of entertainment by form of entertainment, because we've had these extraordinary stories about these artists appearing on Spotify and getting 15 million streams a month, and then discovering that they're fully AI generated artists. But what's interesting about that is the second people discover that they're AI generated, they can't connect anymore, because there's some kind of, in music and in film and in photography, the reason why we love it is it's by humans, for humans, depicting humanity. And I wonder if that will eventually pigeonhole AI to go, cool, you can make a perfect depiction like that Tilly Norwood AI actress or whatever. You can make a depiction of humanity that's AI generated that we can't tell the difference. But if we find out that that's not a real human, the relationship changes and we cannot resonate with nor connect with them the same.
I think, all forms of art are similar, right? I mean, if you take a Picasso, for example, if you're told that that's the real Picasso, you're going to pay, someone is going to pay a huge amount of money for that Picasso. But if it suddenly comes out like that's a copy, which is essentially what AI is, or it's not even a copy, it's not genuine, it's not real. As humans, we have, this desire to connect to what's real, which is also why nature is so important, and there's so much of that, of going back to nature, going back to connecting with nature, because we're all stuck to our phones, our computers, or whatever it is, which are essential elements of our lives. We can't just suddenly give them up. I don't think any of us have that luxury, but the ability and the desire to reconnect with nature, to be in nature, part of what is amazing for us shooting is being out in these amazing places, being in nature, and translating that into imagery, what people see, and knowing that they're seeing a genuine, beautiful environment is very important. And I don't think humans will ever lose that. I think if we do, we'll be lost as a species.
Well, I hope you're right. And if you're wrong, Green Noise Season 4 is going to be brought to you by AI Corda. Well, thank you so much to the both of you. I've really enjoyed
Thank you for
this,
having us.
Andre and Katie. And thank you so much to you for watching and listening to another episode from Season 3 of the Green Noise Podcast, brought to you by CapeNature.